Hey everyone, welcome to EverydayFI, the show that explores the lives of everyday people on the path to financial independence. I'm your host, Meghan Combs, a personal finance junkie who loves to dive into people's journeys. By sharing these stories, I'll show you in real ways how to forge your own path to financial freedom. So today is another Meghan's Money Musings episode, and it's a special one because it's been one whole year since EverydayFI started. The first episode came out May 1st, 2024. That was the intro episode. I believe I talked about my story a little bit. And then the first episode with a guest dropped on May 20th, 2024. So for today, I'm going to share what I learned so far talking to everyday people who want to achieve or who have already achieved financial independence. Plus, I'll talk about what's coming up next for the show. So stay tuned after we take a quick break. And we're back. As I said, it's been a year since I started the podcast, and it's been a whirlwind. I have learned so much. And before I tell you every single lesson that I've learned, because there are probably hundreds of them, I'm just going to keep it to the top 5 biggest lessons that I've learned. Lesson 1: everyone's journey is different, even though the destination is the same. So some people drive beaters to save money, like Will from episode 9, whose car Lucy was approaching 2 decades when I was talking to him. Long live Lucy. Some people really believe that the RE part of the FIRE movement, so the retire early part, really matters, like Justin from episode 3, who said that it's the hook that draws people into financial independence. And others think that working while financially independent is a totally valid choice and is important to reach newer, higher levels of financial freedom. So, like my co host Mitch, who has talked about this on several episodes, how he is continuing to work even though he's reached financial independence because he wants to retire his mother. I've also talked to people who quit their jobs to travel the world, like Christina from episodes 12 and 13, and Julie from episodes 45 and 44. And I applaud their decision to do that. Those are some really cool and interesting episodes, so make sure to check those out. I've also talked to people with traditional families like Casey from episode 19, Sean and Katie from episode 14, Aaron from episode 11, Carl and Carla. So many people have traditional family setups as well. My guests also have run the gamut when it comes to age, gender, ethnicity. I've talked to people who found FI early, like Devin from episode 23. I've talked to people who found FI late, like Alan from episodes 39 and 40, Bill from episodes 42 and 43, and Kathy from episode 32. She found FI in her 60s. You can find financial independence at any time in your life and still make it work for you. I've also talked to pretty much an even number of men and women, many people who have come from immigrant backgrounds, like Lon from episode 24 and Abhishek from episode 18. And I could go on and on about all of the different kinds of people that I have talked to on my show, but I'm going to stop and get to the point. The point I'm trying to make is that reaching financial independence is no longer for the white, wealthy, male engineers. It is for everyone. Okay, lesson number 2. 1 hour recording is not enough. It's so not enough to give a person's story the justice that it deserves. In the beginning, I was recording like 30 to 40-minute interviews, and I really only talked about the person's first encounter with the idea of financial independence. And then I realized as I was talking to them that I wanted to learn more, to know more about their story. I wanted to know why financial independence even was something they looked at in the first place. I wanted to go deeper than just, hey, I found it by reading Mr. Money Mustache. And so I added the questions about people's money histories. So things like their first money memories, how their parents talked about money, how their household money philosophies shaped their view of money as an adult. And this allowed my guests to really open up and go deeper than just money. But it also meant much longer episodes than the 30 to 45 minutes, which in my opinion, that's how long I think an episode really should be because we all get distracted. We don't have hours and hours of time to continually listen to an episode. And so I wanted to make sure that all of my episodes fit within the 30 to 45-minute range. Sometimes they'll creep into an hour if I can really do that, but yeah. So all of the episodes that I'm doing now, because we're going so much deeper into people's money stories, are really 2, sometimes 3-hour recordings. And so I have had to split them up. I actually have some recordings that I've yet to publish that are 2 hours long. So I think it's important to get to the meat of people's stories, but also keep it short enough to where you, as the audience, can still enjoy listening to every episode. Okay, so lesson number 3, the microphone you use matters on both sides. And I don't fault my guests for not having big fancy mics. They don't have a podcast or anything. But I do want to ask you as the audience that when you're listening, know that I am interviewing everyday people who do not have the fancy setups, and I am not equipped to send them a setup when I record with them. Many of them are across the country. Many of them are traveling globally. When I talked to Christina, she was definitely in different countries when I was talking to her. So there's no way for me to just ship them stuff. So they're going to use what they have available. But for me, when I first started recording, I had a mic that was donated by my then partner, now husband Chris. And the thing is, he's a musician, so the microphone he gave me is the kind of microphone that picks up every single noise in the entire room. So that was not quite working for a podcast when really the only thing you want to hear is somebody's voice. And so I tried using headset. So you'll see in some of my recordings that I'm using like a big headset where I have a mic coming from the headphones and it's like the Madonna Britney Spears mic. So that worked a little bit, but it still didn't sound quite right because those mics really are not meant for recording podcasts. And the funny thing was I was talking to a coworker who I know has a podcast at work, and I was asking him what their setup was. And he was like, "You know what? Let me go and see if I can find the mic that we have and I'll send it to you." And then he came back to me, I don't know, like a month later and said, "I couldn't find you the link to the mic that we use, but I sent you one as a gift." And this was actually after I'd already received the mic. And the funny thing was, I was very confused because it didn't have a note. My name was spelled wrong, so I knew I hadn't, like, just ordered it in, like, a dream state, asleep or something, and I asked a couple people who knew I had the show and knew I was hunting for a new mic if they had sent it to me, and they were like, "No, I haven't." And then I learned that it was him. I actually thought it was some sort of scam, but I was like, "How could a scam artist know that that was what I was looking for, that I was looking for a mic?" So anyway, that was super nice of him, and so that's the mic that I'm using now, and it's a game changer. It makes me sound so different. I barely even have to edit the sound now. It's so nice. All right, lesson number 4. So I actually get more questions about how to start a podcast than I get about personal finance, which is fine with me. I'm not a personal finance guru. I know the basics. I know how to apply it to my life, but I am not comfortable giving other people advice. This is something that I learned actually very quickly when I started on the path to financial content creation. I don't have any designations. I'm not a CFP. I'm not an AFC, which is a accredited financial coach. I'm just a junkie for finances. But podcasting, oh, yeah, I know how to do that because I've done it and I'm continuing to do it, and it's just me. I don't have a production team. I just do this myself. I record myself, I edit myself, I made the website myself. So I am absolutely happy to answer any questions that anybody has, like what kind of mic that I have right now. And I can also tell you the programs that I've used. I am definitely a huge fan of Descript. I think I've said that several times on the show, but it is a great program to use for podcast editing because it's super easy, it's fast. So, yeah, if you have any questions about podcast creation, just let me know. I'm super happy to answer them. I actually was thinking about maybe creating like a fun side course as just like an extra to put into the show somewhere that people can watch and learn how to do it and adopt doing it themselves. Okay, so lesson number 5, last lesson. I have seen myself in every single person's story who comes on my show. I know I said that every journey to FI is different, but the destination is the same. And that's true. But what's also true, even though this seems like a contradiction, is I've seen parts of my own story in literally every single person who has come on the show. Sometimes it's small things like just looking the same as my guests. I've had a couple women on here who are also in their late 30s, early 40s, who are blonde and have similar looks as me. But sometimes it's big things like having a similar childhood or making the same money mistakes or thinking the same thing about certain podcasters or blogs that we've heard of or having certain relationships with family members when it comes to money or just so many little things that I have found like, "Oh, yeah, me too. Oh, yeah, me too." And the reason that this is important and the reason why I'm calling this out is that I wanna urge every single one of you who is watching the show or listening to the show to listen to every single person's story who comes onto Everyday Fi. I think you'll be very surprised how many parallels you'll see in your life when you hear stories from people that maybe you think are completely different from you. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break for our sponsors really quick, and then I'm going to come back and tell you what's next for Everyday Fi. All right, we're back. So, what's next for Everyday Fi? So, I have about 7 interviews that will be coming out over the summer months that I'm super excited for. They are definitely going to be two-parters because I could not stop talking to these people. They are super, super interesting and again, run the gamut of age, ethnicity, gender, story. There's one woman whose family were basically live off the land hippies and they lived in like a biodome, and she is now a nature conservancy child educator. Like, it's super cool. Her story is so cool. I'm so excited for hers to come out. I'm also gonna be talking to somebody who I met at Campfire Spain, and I'll be talking to somebody who was an immigrant from India and found financial independence later in his life, but basically turned it around really quickly and his story is really, really inspiring. So there's so many stories that are still to come. But I also have some episode recordings coming up with Mitch, my co-host, and one of them is going to be him recording like he's me on the show, interviewing me, and that's gonna be a really fun one, and you'll get to hear a little bit more of my story. I think I tell my story in kind of bits and pieces here and there on each of the episodes. I did a short version in the first episode that ever dropped, but this is one where he's going to be asking me the same questions that I ask my guests, and so you'll get to hear my story, and so that's gonna be really fun. That'll be coming out in the next few weeks. I'm also going to be opening up my recording schedule in June. So, this is a call to anyone who wants to share their story to sign up to be on the show. I will say that I get very anxious that I'm going to run out of episodes because I can understand why it would be a little scary to come on and tell your financial independence story and journey. But I wanna tell you that this is so helpful for people who are just finding financial independence and are on their own journeys and don't always know if this is right for them, if they're meant to be doing this. They don't always see themselves in the voices that we often hear in this community, and so your voice is very important to reach those people. Plus, it's a way to tell your side of things. Everybody's story is so unique and so special, and people wanna hear it. I will say every single person that comes on this show thinks that their story is not important or not fun or not engaging or not whatever. It's not true. Every single one of you has really interesting things to say, and I really wanna bring you on and have you tell that story. I also want to make it very clear that you can be anonymous. I do not require you to say your name. I don't require you to record video. If I do record video and you want to be anonymous, it'll just be me that's shown on YouTube. You will not be shown. And If you're nervous about even people recognizing your voice, I promise it's actually harder than you might think. Unless you share the episode out with exactly the people that you know are gonna know you, like, they're not gonna know it's you. And I also wanna make it super clear that if you request it, I can share the episode with you well before it launches, and so you have full control of what gets published and what doesn't get published, especially if there's any sort of sensitive material that we are talking about or anything that maybe you're like, "Well, I was having a bad day, and so I think I responded to that question in a way that I didn't really like." I will always respect any time a guest says, "You know what? Take this part out." If you're up for coming on the show, you can sign up on my website, everyday-fi.com. If you scroll down just a smidge, you'll see the sign up form, and it's just above the episode list. Another thing that's coming down the road for Everyday Fi is that I'll also be reaching out to my past guests and bringing them back on to do update episodes. I already had Ryan from episode 6. He came back on in the last episode about a really cool update. If you haven't listened to that one yet, please do. I already have something scheduled with Kim, who I interviewed at Campfi Mid-Atlantic last year in May, and she has a really cool endeavor that she's doing, and she wants to talk about it on my show, and so that'll be coming up. If you're somebody who came on the show and you're listening right now, know that an email is probably coming your way to come back on and do an update episode, and it doesn't have to be that you're, like, doing some sort of endeavor when it comes to Fi. It can just be like, "Hey, you were here last year. Where are you now? What has changed? Has your trajectory for Fi changed? Have you reached Fi? Are you not doing it anymore? Do you want to just do a traditional retirement and why?" And so I think those will be really fun conversations that are coming down the road. I'm going to continue recording videos for YouTube when I can. I probably won't be doing every single episode. Like I said, if there's some people who want to be anonymous, I might just do those episodes as audio only. But I think it's really fun to see our faces. If you're listening to the show right now on a podcast player, go over and check out YouTube because you can see me, my face recording right now. You can see my living room. You can see the painting that my grandmother did. It's a really cool painting. I love that that's in my background. And it's just, I think it's way more engaging to see somebody's face when you're also watching a conversation happen. So, yeah, I'm going to continue doing that. Not every episode is going to have a video because, like I said, the 7 that are in my queue right now, I didn't tell those people that I was gonna put them on YouTube, so I'm not gonna put them there, but as I start recording more and more, as the recording schedule opens up in June, I'm going to be asking if people wanna be on YouTube, if it's okay if I publish their face, and so you'll be seeing more of that. But just know that my YouTube channel isn't going to be all, IRL recordings, it might just be audio still. Okay, and last, I'm going to be exploring some form of educational element to Everyday Fi. I don't want to go too deep into this because nothing is solid yet, but I am in contact with another creator in the financial space who has some really cool educational content and wants to partner with somebody to potentially get it out to more audience, monetize it, things like that. So I'll keep you guys updated on that. It's, like I said, not a solid plan. Hopefully, will be coming maybe later in the year, maybe in 2026. Who knows? But look out for that, and I will definitely be giving an update. That's it for today's show. Tune in next week. I'm going to be chatting with Susie, who is the person that I mentioned that I met in Spain, and we both attended Camp Fi Spain. She actually attended week 1, I attended week 2, and we had a crossover where we recorded a podcast in my Airbnb with little lapel mics. Susie is super interesting. She actually lives in Spain full time now with her family. She has some really cool stories to share. I'll also be doing a solo episode on Campfire Spain, so don't worry, that one's coming down. I'll be sharing what I learned, what I experienced, the fact that Chris and I were actually a little bit on our honeymoon the first part of the week, and then we went to Campfire Spain. I'll also share a little bit about what his reaction was. I might even bring him on for that episode because he was there. That'll be fun. So that you don't miss any of these awesome episodes that are coming out and all of the new things that are coming down the road for Everyday Fi, make sure to subscribe to the show either in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or any other podcast player. And I'll see you next time. Bye, y'all. Thanks for listening to the EverydayFI podcast. If you're loving the show, here are some things you can do. Number 1, subscribe in your favorite podcast player and share the show with your friends and family. You can also find us on YouTube now. Some of the videos actually have our faces. Number 2, please leave a review. I am always looking for ways to improve the show. Number 3, check out my website, EverydayFI.com, where you can listen to all the episodes and leave comments for myself and the guest. Number 4, if you're interested in sharing your own financial independence story and connecting with other community members, you can find a submission form at EverydayFI.com/podcast. And lastly, number 5, join my Patreon membership for only $5 a month at patreon.com/EverydayFI podcast. This is a one-woman show, so every little bit of support really helps. See you next time as we continue to go down the path to financial freedom.